All right, Keith, to start with, going to be talking about Everton. Now, there was a reported consortium proposed takeover bid, which involves a member of the Saudi royal family for about £400 million, Keith. What's an update on that, please? What are your thoughts and sort of the real facts behind that takeover?
Well, it has been a really interesting last few days now that it seems people are emerging from the shadows and claiming to be putting bids in for Everton. I've counted about 7 groups at the moment that as of last week were showing some type of interest or have some sort of legitimate ability to put forward a claim. The one you mentioned, which is the Saudi royal, and here I would caution, people may not realize, but there are about 15,000 Saudi royals. And a lot of those 15,000 don't have access to serious amounts of money. So a lot will depend on who the Saudi royal is involved and why were they not named if they're, if they're serious. That's one of the groups. I think that's Mr. Manoukian's group is the one that is composed of the Saudi royal. Now, he's an interesting character. Certainly his father had access to serious wealth, and he has got himself aligned in either the gaming industry and also in private equity. And he's put together a group, but we'll have to see, as I say, where the real names lie in terms of who's backing this bid. And it's claimed that they have put forward an agenda of modernising Everton and making it, fit for purpose with digital situations, etc. Hardly a strong bid in my view, but certainly an interesting one to put there. And of course, as I say, there are 15,000 Saudi royals. If it's one of the top 100, fantastic news. But let's just wait and see how that comes out. But certainly we need more detail on that one, certainly.
And Keith, just generally then, I mean, if it is, say, one of the top 100, would you therefore be happy with a takeover, with that prospect? And actually, what could that mean potentially for the club going forwards?
I have no problem at all personally with any of the Middle East money, Saudi money coming in. I don't believe sports washing is what's been aimed at a lot of clubs recently is a problem. In fact, I think it's the opposite. I think when people mention Saudi, it is the issues around human rights that are raised even more. So I don't think that actually belonging to a football club actually does wash reputations. I just think that's a bit of a fallacy. But I would be happy. But if we go through the other 6 groups that are potentially there, MSP have been listed as one of the groups. Now, obviously, they hold a very strong position within the club at present, along with, they're claiming that there's a group working with MSP now that would take over short term. They certainly have the ability to do that. If they have a second group that wants to get more involved in the running of the club, that would be important. But again, we need to know who that is and if that's real. But of course, they have a seat at the table, and they would be certainly people that have said that they're interested in some sort of short-term deal, but they've also expressed no real interest in taking over the club longer term. So this could be an expedient group for the 1 year that I've always said that I believe we're going to have 1 year to get things sorted out. So MSP is probably the second group. Third group, which seems to be declining now more, is John Textor. Still not officially dead, but certainly looks as though that, I don't know if he's made any progress with the Premier League in terms of being able to put his shares into some sort of trust that he owns in Crystal Palace that would allow him to work with Everton. Certainly, he'd be quick in terms of being able to pass the owners and directors test because he's already there, obviously, with Palace. So that's a plus in his favour, but it does seem to be waning at the moment in terms of that group. The interesting one that is also coming out is Dan Friedkin, who owns Roma. Now, that would be a very interesting one in my view. I've talked to some people at Roma who know how he's operated. They've been very impressed with the way he's operated. He seems to have got a grasp of things pretty quickly. He's got a good group around him. He does listen to football people. And so I would say that Friedkin would be one that I would welcome. But again, we need to see more detail. There's no doubt he has access to the financial resources, though. So again, in that point of view, it would be a quick one. ACAP, believe it or not, which is the parent funder for 777. Everybody forgets they've still got 200 million into the club. and therefore have some sort of say. And it's not beyond the realms of possibility that ACAP themselves could come up with some sort of last-minute rearguard action to try and protect that 200 further, or even invest more. I think it's a long shot, but nevertheless, they're on the list and they've got to be considered. The one that seems to be emerging as the fans' favourite is AJ Bell and George Downing, and supposedly backed by MSD, the Dell company. Now, I have doubts whether it's actually funded by Michael Dell in terms of their support. I believe MSD could certainly help them with finance. I've dealt with MSD before. They're very tough in terms of the way that they extract their terms for loaning the money, but I think there could be a problem, not necessarily a problem there, but it could be a backing together. And of course, having local Evertonians, the fans seem to have welcomed that. But from my point of view, I'd worry that that would just mean more debt coming from MSD. So that may not be the right solution. But at the moment, certainly amongst the fans, it seems to be they're the favoured option because they're Blues. And that isn't always the right solution, in my view. But nevertheless, they've got serious money already invested in the club with MSP. And so separating their bid away now with MSD, not MSP, we've got to be careful on all these initials. It could be an interesting one to follow.